last video, we talked about how important it is to have automation set up in AutoMods 10, and that's purely because AutoMods 10 just has a ridiculous number of items. Most of the crafts that you need to get to good items take a ridiculous number of crafts, and so that can be incredibly time-consuming and difficult to actually get to the items that you want, unless you have automation and auto-crafting set up. So in the last video, we talked about automation. In this video, we're going to talk about auto-crafting. We're going to be using AE2 for this auto-crafting setup because refined storage is not currently in AutoMods 10. And we also aren't necessarily using the top tier items. This is more of a mid-game setup that you can take and use the exact setup with better, more advanced items to create better, faster auto-crafting. I hope this video helps you. I hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. All right, so like we just talked about, this isn't going to be using the highest, best, top tier items like the mega storage cells where it can store millions upon millions of items. That's a little bit absurd. Instead, what we're going to be using is just the base AE2 items for this setup. I will point out when we reach places and items that you can improve so that if you run into some sort of limitation with this setup, you know what to improve. And then we're also going to go through a little bit of the how-to as far as actually using auto-crafting. So first things first, let's go over the items that we're actually going to need. You're going to need some sort of like a basic AE2 ME setup. This here is really about as basic as it gets. You're going to have an ME controller with a crafting terminal, an ME drive with some item storage cells in there. You're going to have a flux ME glass cable connecting to your crafting terminal, and then you've got some sort of power source connecting to your controller. I have a video out on how to make this exact setup right here, minus the 256K drives that I threw in there for absolutely no reason. But if you're interested in how to set up this, go watch that video. We're going to be operating off the presupposition that you already have this set up. So assuming that you have this set up, what we're going to be looking at using today is an ME pattern encoding terminal, some blank patterns, an ME pattern access terminal. You're going to need some normal glass ME cable, as well as some dense smart cable. You're also going to need 8 crafting storages. For the sake of this video, I have the 256Ks. However, like we talked about earlier, these go up to ridiculous numbers for how many items they can hold. You're also going to want 24 crafting co-processing units. You can actually make the extended ones of these once you have the crystal assembler, so you can upgrade those. And then for actually crafting everything together, we're going to need 32 ME pattern providers. These also have an extended version, and 32 molecular assemblers. They also have an extended version. The extended pattern providers give you 4 times the number of patterns that the normal one can hold, and the extended molecular assemblers can do 8 crafts at once instead of just 1. Once you have all of that, in order to speed up the molecular assemblers, I would highly recommend getting 2.5 stacks of these acceleration cards to fully max them out. So that's everything we're going to need. Let me show you how to actually set this up. First things first, let's grab our pattern encoding terminals, as well as our blank patterns and our glass cables. So this is going to probably come off wherever you have your crafting terminal at. And all we're going to do is we're going to throw the pattern encoding terminal here. Whoa, well, not there. All we're going to do is we're going to throw the pattern encoding terminal here, and then the pattern access terminal somewhere close by. So the pattern encoding terminal is where you're going to actually set up auto crafts. So put your blank patterns in right here. And then if there's something in particular that you want to craft, say you want to turn oak logs into oak planks. On the right side, use just enough items to go find oak planks. So in this case, it's right here. We're going to select that, find the craft that creates the oak planks from the oak logs. We are going to encode the pattern, and it's going to tell it to use 1 oak log to create 4 oak planks. So encode that pattern, and now we have our first pattern to use. So that's how to use the blank patterns as well as the pattern encoding terminal. We're going to let that sit in our inventory for just a second while we get the rest of this set up. So next, we're going to be using 2 different sides of our ME controller. And the reason for that is because the molecular assemblers and pattern providers are going to need 32 full channels themselves. And the crafting setup is going to need another 8. So there's not enough for this to all come out one side, so we're going to come out 2. So first things first, let's come straight out here with the dense cables. Next up, in a checkered pattern, what we're going to do is set down these pattern providers and molecular assemblers. By checkered pattern, I mean we're going to be doing exactly this right here times 4. The only difference is you're going to be offsetting it. So don't set the same block on top of the one that was there before. And we are going 4 blocks high At the end, all 4 pylons should look exactly like this. So there you go. Those are the first 4 pylons. The reason we're just doing this is because this is going to fully utilize the full 32 channels that this cable is able to produce. So every single one of these ME pattern providers now has a channel assigned to it and can be used for auto crafting. So next we need to set up the actual processing for all of that. In order to do that, we're going to go, call it a zigzag pattern, call it what you want, but we're going to set 8 of these crafting storages down just like that. So we have 8 of these right here. And on top of those, we're going to put 3 of these crafting co-processing units until each tower looks exactly like this. Now, unlike these towers over here, each one of these crafting co-processing units is only going to need 1 ME channel. So what that means is as we run our ME cable around and we plug it into each one of these crafting co-processing units, only going to be using 8 channels total. So you can use a normal glass cable for this. I'm just using the dense one to illustrate the concept to you. Like we talked about, you can upgrade these crafting storages so that they hold more. Never really needed more than 256K. It's kind of an absurd amount, but you may. You can also upgrade both the pattern providers and the molecular assemblers to higher tiers of those, the extended versions, etc. But what we're doing for this tutorial specifically is going to be adding these acceleration cards, 5 of them, to each one of the molecular assemblers. I was unaware the first time that I set this up that you could actually add these in here, and you would not believe the difference in crafting speed that these make. We're talking like Honda Civic to Lamborghini type speed upgrades. So 2.5 stacks is enough to exactly fill up every single one of these molecular assemblers, and that is the basic layout that I use every single time for auto crafting. It's by far the best setup that I've been able to come up with, that I've seen anybody else use. And to give you an idea of how this actually works, let's take our pattern that we created earlier. We're going to come over here to our pattern access terminal, and you'll see that we have 32 molecular assemblers, all with acceleration cards in there. And we have all of these slots in here that we can add crafting patterns to. For now, we're going to add the oak logs. We're going to go back over to our normal panel. We're going to see that there's now a plus below this oak plank item right here, which means you can either middle mouse click if you have other items of that, or you can simply click it and you can tell it how many you want to make. In this case, let's say we make 50 of those. You'll see we now have 52. It has to do it in multiples of whatever it has, so it'll get as close to the 50 as it can. In this case, it had to do it in sets of 4 because that's how you make oak plank, so it got 52. Now, when we put that pattern in one of these molecular assemblers here, it will show up in one of these, and we could run around and look for it. And I want to, because I want to show you how this actually functions. Give me 2 seconds. We found it. So I put it in this pattern provider right here at the bottom corner, which means it's going to use these 3 molecular assemblers to build all of those oak planks. It's going to send an oak log to each one, which will then craft it into 4 oak planks, which will send it back and put it back in the ME system. The pattern access terminal just makes it a lot easier, so you don't have to create patterns and then come over here to your pattern providers and find a free space in one of them to throw it in. All of that can be done just simply in this one interface here. Now, again, once you get the extended pattern providers, each one of these, instead of having a single line, has 4 lines, which means you can store a ridiculous number of patterns in each one of these. So there you have it. I wanted to keep this video short and sweet and direct and straight to the point to show you how auto crafting works in AutoMods 10. Hopefully this video illustrates the importance of it as well as the ease to set it up. If you have any questions or if there's anything that I could do for this setup to make it better or faster, more improved, if there's a different optimal way to set this up, please leave those down in the comment section below. Love to hear them. And a lot of other people are watching these videos to figure out how they want to set up auto crafting for themselves. So those comments are incredibly helpful. That's it for this one. Don't forget, you're special, and I'll see you guys in the next one.